What's up, guys and gals of the movement world? It's Sean Mishka, the Movement Miyagi, coming to you once again on behalf of Football Beyond the Stats in our Movement Play of the Week, this week for Week 15 of the 2022 National Football League season. And I realize and understand that even though this is oriented around American football, I should probably be diving into the fantastic, exceptional World Cup final that took place in the other form of football, the World Cup soccer final that just took place between France and Argentina. However, in true Football Beyond the Stats type of fashion, there will be plenty of other people who are breaking that final down, and what a worthy one it was. I was certainly captivated by it, fascinated by the respective interactions that took place under the highest of pressure, the highest of anxiety, the dyadic relationships, and really trying to investigate that sport and its interactions and problem solving relationships through this ecological dynamics oriented lens or problem solver paradigm was truly a fun thought experiment for me, because there was numerous things to break down there. But this is American football beyond the stats. So we are going to get into the next best thing, which is from this past weekend, the Indianapolis Colts giving up what looked to be an insurmountable lead against the Minnesota Vikings, at one point up 33-0 at halftime to the Minnesota Vikings. And it looked like all hell had broken loose for the Vikings, who were attempting to clinch the North Division. And lo and behold, if you follow American football, you probably know that there was some magic that occurred. We are going to get into one of those respective plays that made this comeback come to full culmination. We're going to get into Dalvin Cook. Like you can see, it's 36-28. Only 2:28 left to go in the fourth quarter, and obviously the Vikings, being down by 8 points here, need themselves a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. So let's look at Dalvin Cook on his way to obviously solidifying this Minnesota Vikings tie, and then eventual victory and win, and kudos to them for clinching the NFC North in the process of that. So we're going to see it a couple times here from this perspective. Obviously, Dalvin Cook being split wide left. However, obviously he's accustomed to playing the running back position. So just a fantastic play call, first and foremost, right off the bat. When you need something to happen, obviously the Minnesota Vikings do have a number of playmaker worthy guys, obviously, on their roster. In my perspective and opinion, even there you see Justin Jefferson. Dalvin Cook is still at the forefront and at the top of that playmaker hierarchy, if you will, that food chain. And when push comes to shove, you get the ball in your playmakers' hands in order to make plays, to do what they do. Obviously, big plays happen through getting the ball in these types of guys' hands. And when it is crunch time, when it is pressure, when it is anxiety, and all of those things enter the mix, like when you're putting Messi up and getting him the ball to go and shoot and score, the same thing happens here in the National Football League. So Dalvin Cook, number 4, obviously a former all-movement team member, hasn't found his way in the same way as he did 2 and 3 years ago. In 2020, he was my all-movement first team performer. 2019, he was on my third team for the all-movement team. But Dalvin now, with the insurgence of Justin Jefferson, who certainly will find his way on the all-movement team here this year, who now is the focal point of the Minnesota Vikings Kevin O'Connell run offense. Dalvin Cook has been relegated to maybe this consistent, still workhorse type of back at times, but he hasn't been putting people on a string and making them miss and making them look silly nearly to the same degree as he did 2 years ago when I did name him my all-movement first-team performer. But one thing that you know you will get from Dalvin Cook, and this will happen not only right now in 2022, but it will happen probably 5 years down the way in his career, is his ability to hit the gas pedal while operating at an ownership speed and finding gaps that are emerging and decaying accepting them, going and navigating and keeping his options open, like we're going to see here today. That is who Dalvin Cook is. It's who he was at Florida State, and it's who he still is now, even after an ACL and him having to get more perceptually attuned and sensitive, getting more accustomed to running in tight space, his increased creativity and authenticity that has emerged even post ACL. This is still what we're about to see today is still who Dalvin Cook is at the heart of it. Get into space, find and operate through gaps, being able to connect to guys moving at various speeds and angles. He is as perceptually attuned and sensitive as anyone in these types of scenarios. So when we see it unfold and we see him get the ball here, yeah, this is a great big gap, right? This gap that is existing here, we can tell you'd be able to drive a truck through this quite literally. Now, I know it doesn't look like that much from this perspective, but I can assure you on an American football field, that is a big gap in a big space. And when a Dalvin Cook sees it, he is very quick to hit the acceleration pedal. However, the great thing with Dalvin Cook, because of his world-class for football acceleration, even still now, a few years removed from being kind of that torchbearer, we still see him really kind of own and operate at this ownership speed, own his behaviors and operate at that speed. But when he hits this gap, the one thing that I want everyone to pay attention to, he doesn't just move for movement's sake. He doesn't just hit the gas pedal and kind of let all hell break loose, as we might see from a lesser skilled behavior or performer in this manner. Okay. We might see a lot of running backs when they get this, their eyes get big and they start salivating a bit, because again, not only is that a big gap that he is running through, that we already know he accepted, but look at the layers and levels to this, okay? I mean, look at from here to here, and I'm just drawing lines all over the place, right? Now, again, in an American football, highest level, National Football League field, affordances emerge and decay very rapidly because of the skill level, as well as because of the physical prowess of these respective players. These things will flash before you, and then before you know it, if you are slow to act or interact, they disappear, okay? But Dalvin now, in his really evolved, mature nature, stays really connected to become one with this problem. And so as the problem changes, he and his behaviors are in this place where he's able to be open and responsive. It's truly the definition of Kyverstein and Reiffeld's skilled intentionality, right? So when we see this unfold, kind of local problem by local problem, I don't want you to miss that what is unfolding. A lot of running backs right here would hit this thing head on and just run as fast as they can, especially 1st and 10, and you see this line to gain here right beyond the 45-yard line, 45 and a half-ish, let's just call it. And they're really quick to just go straight ahead. And then whatever gets in their way from a traffic standpoint, they sort of just take what the defense gives them. But Dalvin, like I said, in his highly evolved nature, doesn't do that. He hits the gas pedal enough, but look at how sensitive he remains. And I don't want you to miss this, because you could see I want you to see the subtleties here. That when he sees 44, who I believe is Zaire Franklin, I want to say, who might be replacing Darius Leonard, when we see him come off of this block by 2 of Dalvin's offensive linemen who have moved downfield in this wide receiver screen type of play, Dalvin just picks this up, okay? He sees 44 moving from Dalvin's right to his left, and watch his movement behaviors change accordingly, his being Dalvin's. He just uses that to slow and deviate his path just a bit, so he comes to the backside of his offensive lineman, okay? And I don't want you to miss that, because then this sets up this next affordance, right? He knows that he now has the Colts' probably best tackling player, number 44 here, in a position where he is out of position. But remember here in this situation, it isn't just being perceptually attuned and aware and sensitive to what is to the width and the depth. In these type of screen plays, whether it's a running back screen, a wide receiver screen, tight end screen, it doesn't really matter. Whoever's getting a screen knows that there's going to be some hot pursuit coming from behind. And so Dalvin has to use that. And obviously we see a couple guys that are going to be coming in with some bad intentions and coming in hot that are going to be relevant to the threats present within this problem. Okay. All stuff I don't want you to miss, because that will channel what movement behavior is going to be most functional. But when so one has to remain really, because he's not going to turn and look back at them like completely, right? So he has to feel them, and that feel is a kinesthetic one. It's a sense, if you will, a spidey sense, if you want to think about it like that. But if you were in enough situations, scenarios, and problems that look, feel, act, and behave like this, you will start to become exposed to this energy flow that you can just feel that is coming behind you. If there is some auditory information, you can hear some chaos and some combat that is unfolding, maybe a player actually breathing down your neck, quite literally. And you can just kind of start to feel it if you become sensitive and aware of it. And Dalvin, maybe along the lines of a guy like Alvin Kamara, Aaron Jones, Christian McCaffrey, these individuals who are usually used in these type of fashions, who get in space, sometimes these receiving oriented type of backs, they can just start to feel this information coming from the threats behind them. Okay, so it's about this 360-degree perception that is going to channel the movement and how the movement is coupled to it. But watch this now as Dalvin moves from left to right, subtly here, and as Franklin begins to turn. Dalvin has to remain attuned to a couple different information sources here. And opponents, remember, behavior affords behavior. Dalvin isn't just content with, even though this was his intention, got to get a first down, right? It's 1st and 10. He knows where the line to gain is. But Dalvin, playmaker mentality, it isn't about that first down. So watch this unfold now. And we look at this next local movement problem. He is attuned and sensitive to the behaviors of this defensive back, this safety here, and this one over here. Okay, the two that I just drew the arrows upon. So it's going to be a bearing angle, a speed, a posture, a kinematics of here number 26, moving from Dalvin's right to his left. It's also going to be, how is this respective individual, and I'm sorry, I can't see his number as we speak, but this defensive back that is sitting and coiling now, that is going to move and occupy the gap in the space that currently exists. Like I said, affordances emerge and decay really rapidly on a National Football League field. So we can see Dalvin, what he does is he looks from one piece to the next and keeps getting this slight perceptual scanning. Okay. Really, it's not, he doesn't camp his eyes anywhere. It's literally a head darting from one place to the next to get this updated online perceptual pickup. Okay. And that, when you see it, he just allows his adaptability to flow from that. Okay. Some nuance there as he moves into that crossover cut to go from left to right then. Okay. And just a nifty, subtly oriented or coordinated crossover cut that, because he wasn't moving at too high a speeds, he is under control. He is owning those behaviors and he's moving at a speed that allows him to pick up the relevant information sources of the opponents and then subsequently organize that movement behavior. And then we see that defensive back, hit the ground, that defensive back being this cat right here. And as he goes, and of course, I end up chuckling because it is just quite comical when you see this interaction between Dalvin 1v2 now in this two defensive backs, that one gets turned around, one hits the deck, and then the numerous chasers that are there in front of him. Let's not miss his perceptual scanning now. Let's see, I got to get back here. Let's not miss his perceptual scanning here now. Of course, as I start fumbling through, which Dalvin did not. And let's not miss his perceptual scanning, as I was just making the mention. You see him here. Look at him actually fixate his eyes when he needs to. Watch right here. Boom. He looks, picks it up, and knows that I have to move at a certain speed. I can't continue to go toward the hashes. I have to, here in this scenario and situation, now get north and south. And you can actually see him kind of like dip and duck to hit the gas pedal accordingly. Okay. This is a more mature Dalvin Cook here that isn't just reliant on the world class for football acceleration again. Now the Vikings don't have a stripe going down in the middle of their helmet like maybe the Detroit Lions do. Or the Indianapolis Colts do. But we can still see, even from this perspective, when he looks from right and looks to left and looks back right, we can speculate then as to what his perceptual degrees of freedom might be oriented around picking up. Okay. And this is all information as we tell this movement problem solving story that we want to think about, because it's this scanning that updates the perceptual pickup for Dalvin that is going to channel his movement behaviors, how fast he's going to move, what his path is going to be. And it doesn't actually look as though he's moving that fast because, again, he's still owning. But look at him right there. He looks from left to right now. You can see the way that his helmet is oriented, and he's picking up this dude right here who's moving into his path, and he just subtly looks over to him, wants to connect to him, and then moves his perceptual gaze and pickup back to the left. You can see it right there. And this allows him to just glance over, see, I believe, out of his periphery, he sees number 34 coming and entering into his path. And now Dalvin doesn't stay on the gas pedal to keep getting north and south. Instead, watch his movement behaviors yet again. He actually sets this up, and to kind of do this little Houdini act now in the open field, he decelerates in a very contextual, specific deceleration to change direction. So nifty. And again, this is a high level mover in space. Okay. And that guy gets just enough to slow him down, which then he runs into his own offensive lineman, he being Dalvin, runs into his own offensive lineman, Ezra Cleveland, and then has to go into this strength and power oriented strategy in order to find his way into the end zone. But so going and looking at the layers, as we typically talk about here at Football Beyond the Stats, you can see the numerous layers that existed in these problem and solution dynamics. You can also see the numerous layers that existed or do exist in this play and the emergence of it for Dalvin. Let's watch it from a different angle. Watch in particular this close, intertwined, interwoven nature between perceptions, intentions, and actions. See this intertwined, interwoven nature. See how entangled they are with one another. See how we cannot separate them from one another because they are not operating or functioning in isolation. There's that head turn that I talked about. You saw the adaptability right here in relation to this interaction when these two guys, or three guys rather, end up getting put on Dalvin's poster. But look at them right now. Now that we see it from this angle, just as I talked about earlier, let's not let any of these subtleties, any of these nuances be lost upon us, because this is high level stuff from a high level mover in traffic. Okay. And then you see him look back to the left, back to the right, and he's off to the races until number 34 enters his path, and he has to again adapt within his own adaptability. So he's in this constant state of adaptability, but he stays so present to what Bruce Lee would refer to the what is really unfolding versus what I would like to unfold. It isn't about moving for movement's sake or trying to dictate or control or execute some certain pattern. It's about staying in this constant state of adaptability. And that's what we see usually on most weeks here at Football Beyond the Stats, but also right here, right now from Dalvin Cook. On this respective play, which he strung together these respective moves based on what affordances were existing in the world and how it is that he was behaving in relation to them. So this week, week 15, Football Beyond the Stats Movement Play of the Week is awarded to Dalvin Cook, who I want you to really kind of look back for yourself. Put yourself into Dalvin Cook's human movement system and try to look at this reciprocal relation between not only the problem in all its in global entirety, but the relations as Dalvin acts. Watch how the other moving bodies and parts act. As those moving bodies and parts act, watch how Dalvin acts. Again, as JJ Gibson would tell us, behavior affords behavior. And I know that I say it almost on the weekly, but this one, like most weeks, we can see it unfold and be illustrated in front of our very eyes. So how would we go about training this if we were a sport movement skill acquisition specialist working with Dalvin Cook or working with a team? Seems pretty simple, right? We have to have moving bodies across various amounts of space, different width, different length, different moving bodies coming in and entering the space, getting that running back, wide receiver, or tight end the ball in different fashions, and then letting them navigate this constantly changing problem. I know I say it each and every week that context shapes content, but we should be able to see as though why we need to immerse athletes in these contextual scenarios and situations so their perceptual attunement and sensitivity, along with their openness and responsiveness and intentionality, and ultimately the adaptability of their actions, all of those things can continue to unfold, integrate, and emerge in this truly intertwined and interwoven nature. So for week 15, Football Beyond the Stats Movement Play of the Week, I'm Sean Mishka, the Movement Miyagi. If you guys like this video, give me the thumbs up. Share it, hit subscribe. You guys know the drill. We're on the last few weeks here of the 2022 NFL season. I will see you guys in week 16. And until then, stay dexterous, just as Dalvin Cook did in the Minnesota Vikings comeback in week 15.